or it's nice that you're seeing me, however this works. Anyway, so I'm still sick, but today I had one of those specialist appointments that you've been waiting for like 3, 4, 6 months to go to, and I had to drive all the way across town in morning rush hour traffic, but I wasn't going to miss it because I had waited like 4 months to do this thing and canceled other things that I was going to do because I never got a call from the wait list, that sort of thing. So it had me thinking about, meeting a new doctor, right? There's so many things that can come up when you meet a new doctor, especially if it's a specialist. So there aren't tons of them in your area, especially if you don't have a lot of options, if you're limited by your insurance or by your location or transportation. So there can be a lot of pressure. It really is like a luck of the draw sort of thing who you get matched up with sometimes. And so being prepared can really help no matter how the appointment actually goes, right? No matter what the doctor's like, at least you did your part on your end to try to have a useful appointment. Because ideally, doctors are working for us, even though, like I said, in those circumstances, it doesn't always feel like it because they are in a position of power, whether we like it or not. We can decide to try and go to a different doctor. Some of us can do that more easily than others. Some of us have more options than others. So, but having a little bit of thought ahead of time can at least help you feel a little bit more like you know what you're talking about when you go in there. One of my favorite things to do, and you can do this on your phone or on paper, is I have a list and I will put my questions, but the other, because we often think about like, oh, I'm going to write my questions to go to this appointment. And we do that and we write our questions down and we have our list, right? And then we go in, we ask our questions, the doctor answers the questions in an ideal world. And then we nod and we smile, we're like, okay, that makes sense. And then we walk out the door. And I don't know about you, but sometimes, what did they say? Or somebody, you get home and somebody asks you, like, how'd the appointment go? And what did they say about that pain in your left side? And you're like, I knew it when they were talking about it, and now I have no idea. So we focus a lot on the questions, but the other part is to make sure you have room to write the answers. Because when we're under stress, our brain gets foggy. When we're tired, our brain gets foggy. If we're not feeling well, which may be part of why we're at the doctor in the first place, we get foggy. So questions, but then room for the answers. And you can do this on your phone, like in a memo app or Evernote or something like that. Those can be handy if you have some family or friends who are kind of your treatment team, because then you can just title it with the doctor's name and the date, and then you can often just email it off to them, and then they have it, so they don't have to go through the whole, well, what did they say? Or if you have a friend or family member who can go with you, they can be your scribe. You may have had a doctor at some point who had a scribe, like just such a cool old-fashioned word, but they're just the person who's in the room, like taking notes on the appointment and what's going on and what the doctor's deciding to do. So you can have your own scribe who's sitting there taking notes about what's going on, and then they can email that to you and whoever else is on your team, your personal team. Right? So that's my tip for the day. It's also kind of helpful to get a sense of, a doctor, and you can kind of ask them, what are your goals for my treatment? It's always kind of nice to know. And you can ask them, kind of what's your general approach to treating these things? Like the doctor I met today is definitely one of those, like, let's find the lowest effective dose of things. Let's start with the lowest, the least intrusive, least expensive things. And then when we have data from those tests, we can move up and move up and move up if we need to get more specific, which I like to. That's kind of my approach, but everybody's different. So if you do have the luxury of shopping around, you can find a doctor who kind of meets your take on things. Some people are more, I don't like the word aggressive in treatment, but want to do more faster. Some people are kind of, I'm very methodical. I'm like, I want to know which exact thing made the difference. So I change like one thing at a time. But yeah, and then kind of in your own sense of what's their bedside manner, and you can ask them like, what's the best way to communicate with you? Some doctors love the ability to go through those online chart apps, and message patients, and some of them hate it and they get overwhelmed by messages and they'd much rather do a phone call thing, have you call the nurse and that sort of thing. So ask them, like, what's the best way to communicate with you? If I have questions later, what's the best way to do refills? If they prescribe you something, what are the things to look for to come back sooner than you're scheduled for? Because even though we can feel like we're locked into, well, I've got to wait 3 or 6 months or a year or whatever till they want to see me again, that's assuming everything is exactly the same or close to how it is now. So if you develop new symptoms or you have new problems, you can try to get in earlier if they have an opening, right? And so it's good to have a sense of, like, when do I need to come back and see you? If it, what kinds of symptoms are a sign that I need to come back and see you sooner, and what kinds of signs and symptoms mean I need to go to the ER. That's important too, especially if you're dealing with a new condition that you don't know anything about, right? So yeah, so there's a million more questions you can ask doctors, and you can find lists there. But I wanted to give you some of my tips on just ways to record keep for yourself and help you think a little more clearly as you go through an appointment. And so I might not be thinking the most clearly today since I'm still dealing with whatever this crud is that's going around. So I'm going to go rest and drink some more fluids. But I hope that y'all find a little bit of ease in your day and stay sweet to your spoony selves. And I will see you next time. And if you miss me in the meanwhile, you can always check out drjoeckler.com. That's ECKLER. That's 2 E's. And on there, you can also find my cheat sheet, which is my gift to you, the chronic comebacks. So it's basically 2 cheat sheets of answers to those nosy questions that we get so often, whether it's at work or in social situations. People are like, are you feeling better? Those kinds of things. So it gives you some suggestions for that. So that's free to download. And I've also have my blog up there if you want to get some more tips and tricks until the next time we meet. Okay, y'all take care. All right, bye.